Hello and welcome to Black Bear Atheist. Today we are back with Frank Turek, and he's gonna tell us how to better apply apologetics when talking to non-believers. Warning, don't take his advice. It is really terrible of being an apologetic. But we're gonna still see what he has to say.
Yes, sir. What's your name?
Rusty Black.
Hey, Rusty. How you doing?
Doing very well. How are you, sir?
Good.
Rusty Black, like Rusty and Black. That's a pretty cool name.
I had kind of an application of the apologetics question. So obviously we prepare ourselves. I think most people in here, you don't really have a whole lot of atheists. We're pretty much believers. Not so much your family. You know, you pray for your family. You have a lot of opportunities to talk to them. And maybe not somebody that you see every day at work, but the passerby.
Right.
Obviously, we need to prepare ourselves, read, learn from people that do this for a living. How do you draw the line between? We took a trip and we were talking about you. We were driving. And you have a good attitude when you talk to people that are illogical. They have these illogical views.
Illogical views? Have you look at your views? Because they are crazy illogical. 3 equal 1. God is Jesus. At the same time, Jesus is the only ghost. But you know, your God died for like 3 days. Like, just illogical stuff.
How do you draw the line between winning an argument and reaching the end goal of pointing people to Christ? Like
Winning an argument? You won't win an argument against an atheist. You just won't. You know why? You know why? Because they probably actually read the Bible and you did not. So you won't win an argument on atheists on logic because you're illogical based on your beliefs and all that bullshit that you believe in. 2, they know the Bible more than you do. So you wouldn't necessarily win the debate. And then conversion, well, you have to make sense first, which you will fail in doing. You have to actually present an evidence. And if someone tells you they're an atheist and they believe what you're saying and so on, then I don't think they are atheists. I'm sorry to say that, but if you say you're an atheist and you become a Christian without any actual evidence, then were you really an atheist? Not judging you, just asking the question, were you really an atheist?
you know, you're talking to somebody and they kind of take it in a bad way, or you know what I'm saying? Like, how do you decide? Because you talk to people all the time that are just random crew people.
Yeah, I think
not drive that wedge in.
I think that, first of all, Greg Koukl, my friend, has a great book on this called Tactics. I don't know if you've heard of that book, but it deals with all of these interactions you have with people. And
of course, Frank had to advertise some sort of book, his friend's book. While he's doing that, if you like the video so far, like and subscribe. Just watching this video, even though if you don't like it that much, a little bit further will help with the algorithm and will help me out a lot. Thank you.
what questions you should ask and how you should deal with people when they get upset and all this. And one of the things that you might want to say if someone gets upset was just say, well, first of all, the question I think you should ask when people get upset is, if Christianity were true, would you become a Christian? Because this.
That's such a dumb question. If Christianity were true, would you become a Christian? You know how many things you have to do to prove that Christianity is even true to begin with? And then after that, would you become a Christian? No, that's the obvious answer for me. I am not going to worship that God that is clearly immoral. The question is a terrible question to ask. I mean, the answer is clearly no, but now he's going to take it to a weird place by saying, well, they didn't want to believe to begin with. They're just asking evidence because in their heart they didn't want to even believe. No, we've read the Bible and we know that your God really is immoral. He wiped out the entire planet because he's annoyed by the creation that he created. He also he also knew that his creation were gonna turn against him, and this was gonna happen. Or let me make it even worse. He predestined his creation to went against him, so he can wipe them out. Your God is as immoral as he can be.
Seems to be more emotional than it needs to be if there are not emotional reasons for.
Look always talking about emotions when you say you're talking to this divine God, divine being, the invisible sky daddy. You're the one coming from an emotional standpoint here, not atheist.
For you to get upset. In other words, why would you get upset when we're trying to talk about facts as to whether or not God exists? Because there's.
You never done that, Frank. You have never done that. You have actually never talked about facts. When you're trying to prove that your God exists, you've always fall back on emotions. You've always fall back on faith. And then you will say something as stupid as this: faith is not believing without evidence. Then what the heck is faith? I mean, what? Faith is believing without evidence, and that's all you Christians have. You actually don't have any evidence. There's no evidence for the Adam and Eve story. We even know that that is not true. Okay, let me put it this way. One male, one female cannot repopulate and populate the entire planet. And then we fast forward to Noah's flood. Everyone wiped out except for 8 people. That is not possible for them to repopulate the entire planet. And he wants to talk about facts. He got none.
There's a whole cadre of implications that flow from the question of whether or not God exists. In fact, let me be very blunt with you in here. Not that I haven't been so far. But I submit to you that a lot of the hostility that Christians experience, and it's mild.
Hostility that Christians experience? Again, there is 2 billion of you Christians. What hostility? What hostility do you experience? And don't get me wrong, in places like, Africa, where there's multiple religions, maybe not multiple, it's zoned down to like the few religions now, like Christians and Muslims, and then you got traditionalists, but they're also dying out because the Christians and the Muslims are taking over. Anyways, there may be some hostility there because they are about half and half, but when you come to European countries and you come to USA, there is no hostility. You're the majority.
Compared to what they experience in other countries. But a lot of the hostility that Christians experience in America they're experiencing it because.
Shut up, Frank. There is no hostility. You don't experience any hostility in America. From who? Who is hostile against Christians? When you're more than 60%. Who is really hostile against you? God.
Because there's a new religion in America. And the new religion in America is the religion of sex. It's an old religion resurrected.
There's a new religion of sex? Where, Frank? Where do you find this religion? Where's their church? Where's their worship place? Who are they worshiping? It's just making things out of your ass at this point.
No pun intended. And what I mean by that is that you notice the battles that we have culturally. They're all surrounding sex, right? Abortion, same-sex marriage, now it's contraception that have to be paid for in the Obamacare and all this. It's all these cultural things. It's all about sex. The University of Nebraska wants to keep Chick-fil-A out of their, or at least some students do, off their campus because the CEO believes in traditional marriage.
What? It's all about sex. Abortion is all about sex. Same-sex marriage is all about sex. No, it's about marriage. You literally said a same-sex marriage. It's about marriage, not sex. Frank. Just an idiot.
The reason I'm saying this is because the elephant in the room for many people is not evidence. The elephant in the room is morality and accountability. They don't want there to be a God, and they don't want you, if you're a Christian, to impose your morality on them. That's why there's...
As I mentioned, these people believe Jesus already took away their sins, took away their responsibility. They're not responsible for their sins because they could just transfer it to someone else. Jesus. That's what they believe. That is what you guys believe. I don't know where it's cooking up all this stuff. Atheists take more responsibility of their actions than Christians. Because we don't believe a Sky Daddy already forgave everything that we've done. There's also more Christians in prison. Oh my God.
So much heat. That's why there's so much aggression. That's why people will shout you down and get mad at you, because they think you're going to try and take away something they don't want taken away.
Oh, guys, must I mention the question was, how do you balance winning an argument versus converting someone to Christianity? You see where Frank went with this? Well, Christians are persecuted because blah, 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 blah. They don't want to hear us. They don't want to hear our morality that's based on God and whatever He said. If He says to kill your son, you have to do it because, God is all-knowing. God is all-powerful. And His ways are just. This is madness. This is madness.
Way. That's really the issue. There are so many implications.
No, it's not, Frank. If you present evidence for your God, I'm first to believe that your God exists. I don't actually have to worship Him. I mean, Frank Turek, you exist and I don't have to worship you. But I believe you exist. There's evidence that you exist.
That come from this. It's more political than it is intellectual.
No, it's not. I hate politics. I think it's annoying. And it's necessary, but I still feel like it's annoying. It has nothing to do with politics. It has everything to do with you presenting a more objective morality that is based on a subjective being that we can't even interact with. That is an issue. I'd rather have subjective morality, which is what we actually have. There is no evidence for an objective morality. I'd rather have a subjective morality where I can converse with people around the world. Where I can converse with people and say, well, this doesn't make that much sense. If you do this, then others will not have the same opportunity as you. Where we can actually have conversations. Unlike where you get your objective morality from your subjective God, who could tell you to kill everyone, and it's objectively right to do so. That's an issue, Frank. And the fact that you don't see that shows that you are just insane. You're just walking off the ledge. Like what is going on?
Do you guys disagree with that? That's really the elephant in the room.
Why would they disagree with that? Everyone in that room is literally there for you, watching your dumb PowerPoint. And yes, they're dumb PowerPoint.
So I think when you're dealing with people on that, if they all get hot and bothered and they get angry with you, you don't want to go there with them. You just want...
It did not even talk about angry people. It's talking about how does he himself manage manage whether to win an argument or to convert people to Christianity. It has nothing to do with the person being angry. He's saying he himself could be angry at this moment. Is it really that hard to understand, Frank? Is it really that hard to answer one damn question?
Want to be calm and say, maybe we can talk another time. I'm sorry I upset you, and then go to somebody else. But
that's not what he's saying. That's not what he's saying. He's not talking about someone upsetting him. He's talking about winning an argument. And when it comes to winning an argument, both sides are getting heated up. He's not saying they're persecuting him. And at the end, if he says, oh yes, you answered the question, then he's tripping because he did not.
But Greg Koukল's book is great on this, and I'd highly recommend you get it. Just let me give you a few questions you can ask people when they say things. These are from his book. The first question is, what do you mean by that? Like, for example, Mr. Carpenter asked me the question about evolution. Do you believe in evolution? My first question is, what do you mean by evolution? It means so many different things to so many different people, right?
No, the theory of evolution means one thing, and you can search it up.
You got to define your terms. Second question is, how did you come to that conclusion? Somebody says evolution is true. Oh, macroevolution is true? What evidence do you have for that position? What's your best evidence, right? Third question is,
evolution is true, micro and macro. It just takes a long time, but if you believe in a 6,000-year hurt, then obviously you're not even to be in the conversation because you're an idiot. There's evidence for evolution. There's DNA evidence, there's bone structure evidence, there's actual fossils in the lines of how the species translate from one to another. There's actual evidence for this shit. Just because you don't look at the evidence doesn't mean there isn't any.
Have you ever considered that the evidence that could be used to point to a common ancestor could equally be used to point to a common creator or common designer? So those three questions, what do you...
What? Oh my God, Frank, that's not how that works. Common bone structure point to a common creator? Really? Are you...
You mean by that? How do you come to that conclusion? Have you ever considered, can help you move a conversation forward? And you can see if a person really has evidence for their position. Many times they don't. They've heard a slogan and they just believe the slogan. And when you press them, and what evidence do you have for that slogan? They don't have any.
Does this guy really think he's saying something? Because he is not. He's just gibberishing, and gibberishing. Like, what are you saying? You actually are the one that have to present an evidence here, not them. They have more evidence on their views than you do on anything.
So I think reading his book, and some of the tactics, by the way, are in the app too, that you can download, the Cross-Examined app. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, these questions you can use.
There's an app. There's a... God. There's an app.
For anything.
You did not even answer the guy's question. You sent him home more confused. You sent him home believing the person that he's talking with is the problem. And you're not promoting a conversation between the people that he's actually trying to have a conversation with. Just sad. Well, it seems that's all for Frank Turek. Not surprised at all. This is what he does for a living. Lie, bullshit, and bullshit. That's all I have for you for today. Have a great day. Oh, also click that like button and subscribe.